that we are a big umbrella, a radical, somewhat loudmouth umbrella.
1, 2, 3, 4, we are marching.
Were it not for people like us, slavery might still be legal, children would be working in sweatshops in this country as well as around the world, which does still continue. Women wouldn't be voting, gay and lesbian people would still be in the closet. It's not about leaders making decisions, it's not about government officials, it's about what grassroots people like ourselves do.
The Peace Council, dedicatedly nonviolent, they are dedicated to bringing about an economic system and a social system which better meets the needs of the human race and also values other living things.
It changed my life completely. There's no doubt about that. I think getting involved with a bunch of people who had a structured way to address the problems of this country, problems in our society, made all the difference in the world to me.
They're not afraid to ruffle feathers. You need people who are willing to go out on a limb. The Peace Council is willing to say exactly the way it is.
So many people are suffering. The air now smoldering. A country and the people's pain. Not in my name, not in my name. Keep on walking forward. Keep on walking forward. Keep on walking forward.
The Syracuse Peace Council, founded in 1936,
is an anti-war social justice organization.
It's the community-based,
autonomous, and funded by the contributions of its supporters.
SPC educates,
agitates, and organizes
for a world where war,
violence, and exploitation in any form
will no longer exist.
The Syracuse Peace Council is both an organization and part of broader movements for peace and social justice. SPC acts independently and in concert with other organizations or in support of their initiatives.
We are the oldest continuously running local peace and justice organization in the country. There have always been people in the ups and the downs who have said, if this thing died, we'd have to create it. So doesn't it make much more sense to do what we can to hang on by our fingernails and to make sure it doesn't die?
There were people who had been holding it together with duct tape and love and strength and caring, and then 9/11/01 happened. And from that came the desire to revitalize the Peace Council.
My first rally was against the war in Iraq, and it was very much exciting to me to stand up for something I truly believe in.
In the fall of 2002, where we had 5 separate marches that converged downtown for a large rally in front of the Armory that drew about 1,000 people. And certainly that was a tremendous moment, you know, to look out at that crowd and just see this sea of people really representing various parts of the central New York community. And that was also at a moment where we held on to some hope that we might prevent the war with Iraq.
I'd really like to thank the Syracuse Peace Council for asking me to come down this evening to join you, to talk about what we might do to end this brutal war against the people of Iraq.
I spent 5 months in Iraq before the U.S. invasion, during the entire invasion, and also after the invasion during the occupation. And while I was in Iraq, I was wearing, you know, my Peace Council hat because I was kind of the Peace Newsletter's foreign correspondent.
I see obvious connections between what's happening in Iraq, you know, what's happening in terms of issues of economic globalization and the U.S. military presence globally.
If you think about today, we're facing a terrible, terrible administration, and I see almost the face of fascism in this organization that's in control of our country today. We see a terrible war that's going on that had no justification at all, built upon lies and deceit. We see poverty of tremendous numbers that are not justified. We see a real gap between the rich and the poor getting worse and worse.
Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones to form an arch, singly none, singly none. This nation was born claiming to honor certain ideals: freedom, equality, and democracy. Given U.S. genocide targeting Native Americans, given the legalization of slavery, given frequent illegal U.S. military interventions and invasions abroad, and given an election process corrupted by corporate financing, those ideals are more often invoked than implemented. We struggle to honor those ideals. Some might define such work as patriotism.
So what we have to do is to consolidate that work of exposing the lies and continue to promote the ideas of dismantling the Pentagon's expenditure of billions of dollars when there are no books for schools, when 40 million citizens do not have health care, and when the infrastructure of the country is deteriorating.
From the boarding schools that my grandparents were forced to attend, the history that we're taught in schools, there's a big difference. We're told that the founding fathers were so fair and almost saintly, but they were slave owners and they were genocidal. They stole land from the Indians, they killed Indians. And those things have never been addressed completely. I think that a lot of the things going on in the world today kind of stem from the fact that these things happened, and also that they've never been dealt with in any real level.
And